Hi everyone, my name is Draazi. Welcome back to Draazi Plays Darkest Dungeon. So for this video we're doing something different. I'm actually recording the commentary after the fact while rewatching the game footage. Mostly because it turns out that when you mute your mic, OBS doesn't really manage to record what you're saying. So yeah, that's a thing. So here I'm basically showing you guys that between recordings and between episodes I bought some skills for some characters, mainly Orlebar and Breteuil, just because I want to have them at their strongest before going into the next quest, which is going to be a medium length quest. And we're going to go into the ruins again. So we're ready to embark now, and here we're in the process of selecting which quest we're going on. They pretty much have the same rewards. Both trinkets are, kinda meh, not great. So I end up choosing regardless, just one. It doesn't really matter. And then a quick overview of the team. So we're taking a shield breaker. For start, we're taking Reynold, we're taking Breteuil, and we're taking Orlebar. And we move into provisioning, where we're going to be taking a few things. A bunch of food. I think I decided to go with 16. Yep, well that's 18. And back to 16, there we go. Then some shovels. 3 should do us. We already have an anti-venom, so I don't think we'll be taking more. A few bandages to cover bleeding effects. 1 medicinal herbs. We definitely want to be opening chests, so some keys. And some additional holy water. And then a bunch of torches. I think I go with 12 here. Yes, there we go. And then we're about ready to get going. So let's embark.
The fiends must be driven back. And what better place to begin than the seat of our noble line?
And here we go, in the ruins. First thing that happens is that we do some scouting. This is RNG. You have a certain percentage to do some scouting. And this actually shows us that we have 2 room battles to the left here. Which means that we will be going down that road first, and then we'll double back and go down. And once we're there, we'll see what the rest of the route will be. On our way. We know we're gonna find a trap here. And then we can see the disarm percentages. And he has best percentage, so we disarm with him. Then we have another Curio, an Iron Maiden this time around. No idea what we need to put in there. Debating whether I take medicinal herbs. Apparently that works. Some more light and into the first room battle. We'll be fighting about some mobs. We're gonna do our standard strategy, apply some blight to the rear part of the target. And they can both get affected. She's gonna try and stun someone, perhaps. Yes. That didn't work.
The match is struck. A blazing star is born.
We have an undead there, so or an unholy, so we'll smite that one and hope he's dead through that. And there we go.
Executed with impunity.
Then the shield breaker. It's probably gonna start with an impale, because that hits everyone. regrettably, but okay. And then they get to take their turns. And they're hitting us with stress attacks again. Some rending. We resist the bleed there, so that's good. Dumping Goblet. Another stress attack. Here I think I decide to go for a heal. Well, yeah. Basically Judgment also heals herself since she just got some damage. That makes sense. He's gonna die anyhow, so we pick another target here. There we go. And another run for the old gods. This time the bleed does get affected. Light.
Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken.
Decide to go for a blight for the guy in front here. Then Shieldbreak is gonna take his position in front again. So I hit the first guy in the party. Up to Reynold, who's gonna use a bandage to get rid of the bleed. And then just go for a normal smite on the guy in front.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
And that one dash on the blight. We pick up the loot.
This expedition at least promises success.
We open the heirloom chest. We know that a key will unlock a secret compartment there. And more loot. And we continue on to the next room. Pile of rubble, so shovel.
Even the cold stone seems bent on preventing passage.
Let's see what's in the backpack. Some loot.
Glittering gold, trinkets and baubles.
To the conclusion that we
Paid
have no
for
more
in
room
blood.
in our inventory, so I decide to not take the journal page. As I said before, I have no idea what those do actually, so I tend to not take them along. I do want the ruby because it's like 1250 gold, so let's evaluate what we can drop. We're not gonna drop the gold because we're just gonna find more gold, so we need a slot for that anyhow. I think we're gonna drop the anti-venom here. Free up the space, pick up the ruby, and continue on our merry way. We know we're gonna run into a battle, so bump the light a little bit. And we surprise the enemies. Judgment again. Nice heal on ourselves there. We're gonna go for a Noxious Blast. Somebody in the front, or no, we decide to go for the Plague Grenade in the back. And he's blighted. Most likely the Impale again, since we have 3 targets. But seems like we decide to go with the Irish Kiss instead. Unholy, so we smite.
Back to the pit.
And then they gets to shoot us. One dies.
Death by inches.
We decide to go for a heal here, I think. Just comparing hit points. And there we go. And back to the front.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
Pick up the loot. Then we go into the next room, knowing there's going to be a battle again. And we find ourselves from spiders. These are pretty easy to fight against. So standard approach, play grenade in the back. One blighted, one resisted. Try to web us and we resist that. Which does leave us marked, meaning that the other targets will prioritize us, or the other enemies will prioritize us. So, let's see what we're gonna do here. I think we're gonna heal the party, yes.
Soothed. Sedated.
Zealous accusation, because that hits the two targets in the front. And they both dodge. And impale. All four get damaged there. We try another web. This time it does work. We get stunned.
Great is the weapon that cuts on its own.
The one dies from the blight damage. I think we're gonna do a blade grenade in the back again. Yep. Which probably means that he'll die on his next activation. Try to stun somebody. They dodge. Stun wears off.
The slow death.
Realm's
Unforeseen.
gonna try the Zealous accusation
Unforgiving.
again. And get him on the go.
Success.
So same problem again.
Clearly in
We
view.
need to drop something to pick
Or
up
is it
the
merely
gems.
a trick
As
of
I explained,
the light?
money is important in the beginning of the game. So I tend to prioritize that. So restack the torches, and then we're gonna use one to increase the light and drop the
As
last
the
one.
light gains purchase, spirits are lifted, and purpose is made clear.
Just briefly evaluating whether there's anything better to drop, but we come to the conclusion that it's probably best to let go of the torch. And then we get to look what's in the box, the sarcophagus. It says locked, so a key is probably a good idea here. And there we go. Some gold, some heirlooms. And we start our way back to the first area we started in, to then go on to the right and to the bottom. Backtracking has a tendency to give you a bit more stress, but yeah, there's no way around it this time around. And we need to eat. Luckily that also heals us a little bit. And up over there. We know we're gonna run into a pile of rubble. Luckily we brought enough shovels, because we're not even halfway through the dungeon yet. And then we find a curio, but one of Reynolds' quirks activates and he basically steals our loot and gets blighted in the process. And then I'm looking for a consumable that can take that away, but I soon realized that I dropped my anti-venom, which is the one that I would have needed for that, so we're gonna have to suffer through the damage. And here we go down. We're not going to that room evidently, because there's no room battle in there. So there's no reason whatsoever to move over there. Activate a few
In
torches
radiance,
to keep
may
the
we
light high.
find victory.
Another hunger. Luckily we brought enough food. We find books. Stack of books. I know from previous runs that burning books is very bad, and reading books can be bad all by itself, so I decided to not take anything here and just ignore the books. Another trap, so we select Orlibar and we'll have him disarm it. Moving into a room battle, so we bump the light. There we have a bloodletter again. So we're gonna hit the guys in the back with the blight grenade, which applies blight to both of them. And we're probably gonna try to stun the guy in front, which does not work. He has 50% stun resistance, but as I explained in one of the previous videos, I'll take a 50-50 chance on stunning them. Who will we hit? We won't hit anyone apparently. But try to stun him again. And again he resists. Blanket fire, which we all dodge, that's good. Slice and dice on the guys in the front, and they dodge again. That's some good dodging there. Good guys. That's good. A lot of bleeding there. We'll have to fix that when their turn comes around. Another blight grenade in the back should kill both of those on their next activation. There we go, they'll both get 8 damage next time around. So you don't need to worry about them anymore. So we're gonna go for the outer skiz and apply some blight on the bloodletter. He's returning the favor, so 3 out of our 4 guys are now bleeding. So we're gonna start party healing here to compensate for the bleed damage that we're gonna suffer. That was a very mediocre party
Continue the
heal.
onslaught. Destroy.
Both of them die.
All.
And we're gonna keep stunning him, I think. Or trying to stun him. And this time around it does work. So, more blight. We go for the party heal again. It's a better heal than the previous one. And this time we decide to go for a smite. That does the most damage, and we
Their
kill the
cursed
bloodletter.
champion falls.
Pick up the loot, and we come to a very big surprise that, as a matter of fact, the quest is complete. So none of the rooms in the lower half of the dungeon actually had room battles. So yeah, that was unexpected. But since this is a medium mission and we basically brought firewood for camping, I decided to use the opportunity and go camping and try to... normally when you go camping you want to remove hit points or heal hit points and stress. Now this time around that won't be necessary because we don't have a battle after this. We're planning on returning to town immediately after. So the first part of resting or camping is you eat. You decide which amount of food you want to eat. If you don't eat enough, you get extra stress. If you eat plenty, then you get to heal some stress and some hit points. So since we have 12 food left, I think we decide to go for the feast and use 8 food. So we all heal pretty much to full. And we heal some stress, and then the second part is we have 12 of these respite points. I don't know whether they're actually called respite points, but that's what I call them. And each of our characters has 3 camping skills, and then here I start looking for the camping skills that will give us the most stress healing. As you can see, you can learn additional camping skills at the Survivalist, which is building in the hamlet that we haven't unlocked yet, but we'll get to that soon enough. So we start with full start, and we're gonna check his camping skills to see what we can use here. Coming to the conclusion that he has a hit point heal, which removes bleeding and blight, which we don't need because we're not going to be moving anymore. Or snakeskin, which buffs us for the next 4 battles, because we're not planning on having any battles after this. It's not useful. And his third skill is the same, is also a buff, which is not useful at this point. So let's see what Reynold has to offer, and Reynold is basically a stress healing machine. So he can heal 1 companion for 15 stress, for 2 respite points, 2 time basically is what it is. So we go and use that one immediately. Then the second one does basically the same, and also removes some mortality debuffs, which we don't have at the moment. So the stress healing is what we want. Quick comparison tells us we want to heal our vessel, and then the last one actually for 5 time heals everybody for 15, and it also gives us a buff for the next 4 battles that we get 15% less stress, which leaves us with 2 respite points. So we do a quick check whether we can do anything useful with this. Since this is a buff for the next 4 battles, it's irrelevant for us. And same as here, it's a heal of hit points, so we don't really need that one. So we decide to conclude our rest and prepare to make our way back to the hamlet. So let's chat a little bit.
The way is lit. The path is
and
clear.
Then another surprise.
We require only the strength
Apparently
to follow
the shield breaker has some mechanic that when they camp,
Sand and serpents
they get
choke
attacked.
out hope
I
of
didn't
wholesome
know about that.
reverie.
I have never much used the shield breaker before, and I definitely never camped with him, or at least that event never triggered for me. So then the game explains to us that some monsters have the stealth ability, which means you can't attack them as long as they're stealthed. And I do remember that some of my characters have abilities that work against stealth. But yeah. And then they all start attacking the shield breaker. We have it in for him, so he's almost dead and he's bleeding and blighted. But we're gonna need to heal him for sure. But we're gonna start with our standard tactics and just throw on some blights. And I was just throwing on blights like I usually do, completely ignoring the fact that they have 40% blight resistance, which means that they'll be resisting 4 times out of 10. I don't think that at this point I realized that yet, so... Then for Reynold we're gonna use a stunning blow, try to stun some of these guys, so they have quite a few hit points. Since he's almost dead, we're gonna start single target healing him. 4 hit points is something, but it's not a lot. As you can see, he's getting 7 damage per round through the bleed and the blight. So we're gonna have him use his de-stealth attack on the guy that has the stealth, and then come to the conclusion that the guy in the back had guard casted on him, which means that he takes the damage, and he also had riposte activated, so he immediately attacked us back. So we're suffering here. Well, the shield breaker is suffering. They seem to pretty much ignore the rest of the party. So again, a blight attack now, which does some damage and then actually manages to apply the blight. Then the shieldbreaker gets some damage, which puts him at 0 hit points, and which means he's at death's door. So every time he now gets damage, he risks dying permanently. So we're gonna have to do a lot of effort to keep him alive. So we're gonna start by using a bandage to remove the bleed, so that to take away 3 damage per turn. This is where we again regret we don't have an anti-venom anymore. And we're gonna use a holy water to get ourselves some buffs, some resists basically that are buffed by 33%. And we're gonna hope that that keeps him alive long enough to kill these snakes. And there we go again. We're gonna, you notice he's been guarded, and I tried to figure out who's guarding him, but they don't seem to have a bug indicating that. In retrospect, I have seen that it was the guy in the back that did the guarding, but at the moment of playing this, I didn't realize that. And then battle ends. Whether that is normal, again, I don't know. This was the first time that I ever seen this. So we decide to have a quick look in the curio. Now we're going to eat some food first, just to get some more hit points, because I don't know what's going to happen at this point. So we look in the suit of armor. Thinking a little bit as to what we can put in there, and then decide to just open it without putting something in there, and we get a positive quirk. So he now has Ruins Tactiphony, which gives him plus 15% damage in the ruins, and he has Ruins Scrounger, which gives him plus 5 scouting chance in the ruins. So we'll definitely be taking him back into the ruins quests after he's healed up his stress. And then we go back to the hamlet.
Room by room, hall by hall, we reclaim what is ours.
Check out our loot. Then I realized that when you click next, it goes a lot faster. Everybody gets their XP, which means Reynold levels up to level 2. He also gets to have more stress in the ruins. Bertha gets a pretty good fated ability, and Orlebar is gonna start hurting himself whenever he wants to relieve himself of some stress, and we return to town.
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
As usual, we review our activity log and see that Fossard and Reynolds leveled up. We unlocked the Warrens and the Cove, 2 new areas, and we advanced the Ruins area to Mastery 2. We also have 2 new buildings in our hamlet, and our Plague Doctor and the Man-at-Arms have recovered a lot of stress, but the Man-at-Arms is kind of tired through engaging in the pleasures of the flesh to get rid of the stress there. And then we have the 2 new buildings, the Survivalist. This is the building I just mentioned earlier, where you can buy the new camping skills.
Instructor.
The last building is the Sanatorium, or Sanitarium. You can basically treat quirks and diseases. Example with one of the characters to see what it would do. So we see that Dismas has a number of quirks or negative quirks that we could potentially try to get rid of. So we put him in the treatment ward, and we can decide to get rid of the Thorn Rotator. It costs 1500 gold, so I decide to not do that at this moment. And the medical ward is to treat diseases, and then you can upgrade them to make things cheaper. and to increase the number of cells that you can put people in. Again, I decide to not do anything. I like to think about which upgrades I need before I start doing them in the spur of the moment. I don't think we'll be upgrading this anytime soon. We will be wanting to get rid of some quirks later, but at the moment, nobody is high level enough to actually care. We can still replace them if we want. And then, as the last thing, like we do in every episode, we'll take a look in the stagecoach to see who has arrived this week. And we see that we have yet another highwayman in the stagecoach, a grave robber, an antiquarian, and an arbalest. I think I decide to take all but the highwayman, because that would be our third highwayman and we don't really need that. We also notice that we only have 13 slots in our roster, so I want to upgrade the roster slots, but we don't have enough of one of the heirlooms, so I decide to use the exchanging functionality and basically exchange the crest for
foolishly seeking
the one
fortune
we
and
need.
glory
And then
in
we
this
upgrade to
domain
17 slots.
of the damned.
Have a quick look at this highwayman to see whether it's better than the ones we have. But I think I decide to not. His abilities aren't bad, but I think I still decide to not take him along. And indeed, we take
Shoot,
the other three,
bandage, and pillage. The dancing
but leave
steps
the
of
highwayman
war.
in the stagecoach. And that's a wrap for this video then.